Coming up on this episode of Brody Even Talk Pinball, we've got special guest Ryan Wenger from Comet Pinball. We're going to talk about his business and also operating pinball machines.
And we're going to run through all the great news of the month.
We also have got questions from our viewers. And then finally, a review of No Good Gofers. Coming right up.
Double super jackpot!
I need a ramp. I need a loop. I want targets I can hit. I need the scoop. I need a double super jackpot in my life. That's right.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Monday, June 26th. We're into the summertime, finally. Been a little relaxed because we've been on our taking a break from our bro schedule, so that's all well and good. Although, I got to say, we do have a show coming up on Thursday, right, Kev?
We do. So this is going to be one of a few summer bro shows. We're going to be playing Firepower at the one and only Jeff Worth's house. So
Yeah.
we'll be teaming up with our friends at the Pinball Arcade again. They're releasing the only Wipeout for the Pinball Arcade this
Whoa.
month. And right.
Yeah, the D sides.
So I think after we do our live bro show, I have to run the rerun of the episode where we played Wipeout.
Sweet.
So you guys can vote on if it's a hot dog or a potato chip.
By the way, I'm rude. I'm Nick Lane.
Oh, I'm Kevin Manny.
Yeah, this is Brody Even Talk Pinball. This is our monthly pinball podcast where we try to stay on course with a format that Kevin put together this for this month. Thank you, Kevin, for taking that initiative, because
Yes.
I was looking at my phone and I was like, I hope he's got something.
Well, when we get to the Nick parts and there's nothing in the Nick parts, then you'll just have to wing
I
it.
like the challenge.
Yeah.
We'll do it live.
We will do it live.
All right. Well,
I'll write it myself and we'll do it live.
Let's not waste any time. Let's bring Ryan on.
All right.
Well, you know what? Before we bring him on, let's do this, because this makes me think of it. Let's give a shout out to our partners.
We should.
Who's one of them?
And who's the first partner?
Comet Pinball.
Oh, look at that.
So Comet Pinball, you guys all know this. They make LEDs. They've got. I'm gonna even let Ryan do the ad. Ryan, you're gonna do the ad when you come on. All right. We'll get there in a moment. So Double Danger Pinball, get some pinball swag, get some shirts. If you're going to Replay FX, they're gonna be there. Great time to pick it up from them. Or you can use the code of Buffalo to save 15%. Pinball Life, maker of pinball parts, accessories, mods, all that good stuff. Jersey Jack, Hobbit, Wizard of Oz, and then you dialed in. Oh, wait, we've got an update for that, too.
Yeah, that's on the
That's
to-do
good.
list, yeah.
I'm getting excited.
Oh, yeah.
Community Beer Works. Community Beer Works gives us all the delicious beer that we drink during our stream. They now have a pinball machine there. They love pinball. Awesome. Check them out. If you guys are coming for the Summer Open, carve out some time to go down to Community Beer Works, and they will definitely have their beer on tap at Pocketeer. Talk about that, too. Titan Pinball. Silicon rings. Get rid of those traditional rubber rings in your pinball machines and use Titan. They got a discount code of 10% off when you type in Buffalo. Pinball Arcade, our friends who every month give away free pinball packs of their digital recreations of pinball machines. We're doing that again Thursday, right?
We are, yeah.
Sweet. And then Tilt Cycle, the man himself, Dan Burfield, out in Pittsburgh, former guest of the show. He makes upcycled pinball art. He's also going to be at Replay FX right next to our friends Double Danger. So stop by, buy all their stuff, make them happy. Dan's got a discount code of 20% off when you type in Buffalo. That's tiltcycle.com.
All right, one more thing real quick before we get to Ryan. Something brand new this episode. If you're watching live in the chat room, you can go to the link on the screen there, goo.gl/ lowercase WAT7, whatever that is.
Rolls right off the tongue.
It's going to be in the
Kevin
chat.
nailed it.
Our mods are going to be putting it in the chat all night. You can give your rating for the game we're going to be reviewing later this episode. No Good Gofers. These are the categories we consider, and then you can just scroll down to the bottom and give it your 1 through 10 rating and submit. And at the end of the show, after we give our rating for the game, we'll check and see what you guys voted on.
That's cool.
Too.
Thanks for who did that for us?
Attack.
Thank you, Attack. All right, let's bring on Ryan.
All right, it's the moment everyone's been waiting for. There he is.
What a great shirt, by the way. If you guys can only appreciate the shirt that Ryan is wearing, he is a man of good taste. Let me tell you.
I knew this would happen.
There you go.
Welcome, Ryan. Welcome to Bro, Do You Even Talk Pinball? So Ryan is the owner of Comet Pinball, who we just happened to talk about, coincidentally. And he's also the co-host of the Little Kings podcast. So welcome to the show.
That's all right. Thanks.
So
This is my first video podcast thing ever.
Yeah.
So I'm
it's
excited.
exciting, right?
Yes.
Get hyped.
So I'm excited to have Ryan on because, as I mentioned, I got into the operating game last month, I guess technically in May, and Ryan has been super helpful. We had like an hour and a half conversation about operating pinball machines, and you gave me some great ideas. But as we were talking, I thought, wow, this is really interesting. So we're gonna recreate some of that in a much more condensed format.
Okay.
Because I think operating pinball machines is interesting. I know when for years I always wondered about how they do and on location, what games do well, things like that. But first, can you do a commercial for Comet Pinball and tell us a little bit about that?
I should have a commercial off the top of my head, but I don't. You guys do a good job. We got to get you the new logo, but other than that, you're killing it with your Comet intro. We've got the largest selection of LEDs. It's too many, honestly. So if you want to be overwhelmed with all different kinds of LEDs, we've got them. We've got the lowest prices, and we give you some free candy with your stuff. It's kind of a mom and pop operation, so there's love involved.
And then how long have you been doing Comet? Because you didn't start the company.
Yeah, my wife and I took over Comet last July, so it's been almost a year. And the previous owner, Art, he lived in Florida. He needed to retire, and so we flew down to Florida. We met him, then we came back to Colorado, went back again, filled up a U-Haul with bulbs, and drove it across the country and set up shop in Colorado, where we live, in Boulder. And it's been crazy. I mean, I'm sort of an entrepreneurial kind of guy, but I guess I thought we'd be, I don't know how to say this, but there's just a million things to do all the time. Just, making sure that things move smoothly, and like you can always sort of like improve processes and make things faster, and, try not to run out of stuff and try to have things on stock. And it's always a challenge. So it's been exciting.
So one of the cool things you mentioned, you have basically everything you can possibly want in LEDs, an almost overwhelming selection, which is great. But let's say somebody's just getting into putting LEDs into their machine, and they might be overwhelmed. So do you have some kind of tips for somebody who's just kind of diving in at that, so they don't get that overwhelmed feeling? What would you recommend to them?
I guess the easiest thing probably I could say is, so new Sterns out of the box, they have what we call two SMD bulbs in them. The GI is like 2 SMD and natural white, which is like the kind of harshest, whitest white. But if I was just telling somebody they weren't sure what to get, I would say get 2 SMD frosted sunlight bulbs. And a lot of people, so like in your GI, you can just like have white everywhere. It'll look good. You can even have white in all of your inserts too, and they'll look fine. The old games, all the bulbs are the same color. If the insert in the the plastic, say triangle for lock 1 in the playfield is green, use an incandescent bulb behind it that's white, but it shows up green. So that still works with LEDs, but a lot of people will go through and they'll order 3 greens for the 3 lock lights and 2 reds for the specials or whatever. It's not necessary, but it's something to do. And it's and then I guess you want to know whether you need bayonets or wedges, and roughly how many of each. And people email us and ask, and we don't know how many exact bulbs you need for Big Hurt, unfortunately, or whatever it is. So it's probably in the around 150 bulbs for a modern Stern, maybe 200 for a Williams, and that's like the easiest answer. And I say sunlight because it's actually, we have 3 whites, and warm white is the yellowest, natural white is the whitest, and sunlight is in between. So that kind of works without thinking too hard about the artwork and the colors. Like that one's a good middle of the road.
I'll concur with that. Sunlights are my go-to bulb. I have a bin full of them out there now. I haven't gotten to Viking yet. You can, if you're watching the video, you can see like the back box of Viking. Viking has regular incandescents, and Vector has the Comet Sunlights in it. So,
All right,
pretty sweet.
Nice.
I think the one thing that I learned is, and you mentioned it, the frosted, especially if you buy like a new stern. So they're gonna have like the LEDs. They're clear. So God forbid you like look directly at them, you just catch them underneath the plastic, you're gonna go blind. So the nice thing with the frosted, you're not gonna go blind, and it seems to disperse the light more. It makes it even brighter. So highly recommend that. No matter even if you just stick to the sunlight, which looks great, just get frosted. And then if you want to go crazy, you can experiment with some colors. Tastefully. Don't color bomb the game.
I when I'm doing games, it takes me like 10 hours to do them because I have just all these choices, and I'm like, can this be a clear? Could this be a frosted? And, not everybody. So you can go overboard and figure out the best bulb for every different thing. But you can also, you'll see a dramatic improvement in your game if you just, went with one thing straight across the board.
Yeah. I'm going to need some recommendations for Bad Girls because that's the next game that's getting LED'd. So it's nothing but the best for the Bad Girls.
You got to throw a couple tastefully placed pinks in there, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can take my Bad Cats when I'm done with it.
Oh
shit!
They have all the bad games.
Yeah, I have a special room for that. I can
do.
fit like 3 pinball machines in the room upstairs, so it can have a theme. All right, cool. Anything else that you want to say about Comet LEDs before we jump into talking about operating pinball machines?
No, I don't think so.
So did you? I have to know. Did you know anything about LED bulbs before you got into this business, or has it been like a crash course in LEDs and ordering stuff from China and all that stuff?
It's been a crash course. Art, when I went down there the first time and I was asking all these questions, he was looking at me like, "What are you doing? You don't even know that." And actually, so I had ordered. I had not ordered from Comet before taking over. I had ordered from other companies because I just wanted a kit for a game. And pay a little bit extra and get a kit. That's something that we'll get into in the coming weeks and months. Is having kits. It's a lot of work, and but it's a good way to get people buying from us who are kind of overwhelmed right now. So sometimes I say it's like we have this library where if you know how to use the card catalog, you can find everything fine. But if you're looking for a librarian, you probably have to email us and we can help you out.
That sounds good. It's interesting.
Oh, you know what? I got a question before we move on to
Okay.
the operating. So this comes from viewer Attack 777 7. Did I get enough?
4 sevens.
All right. 4 sevens. Ask Ryan where he gets the tiny gummy bears and if he can add a Buffalo promo code where we get 2 packs of the gummy bears.
Okay, if you, I know it's, well. Some of your sponsors give a nice promo code. We already have the lowest prices by far, so you don't need one. But if
That's what we tell everybody.
When you in your like order notes box, just say like, "Hey, Buffalo guys said I could have 2 packs of gummy bears."
There you go.
I love it.
It's good, man. I appreciate
And
that.
also,
Better stock up.
I discovered this recently because there was a pack of gummy bears sitting in my car and it got all warm. They're a lot better warm, these gummy bears that we sent out. So, lay them out in the sun for a little bit and then give them a try.
That's the kind of pro tip that we were looking for tonight, so thank you for delivering on that.
Leave the box in the mailbox for an extra hour.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly.
Get installing your LEDs and really enjoy yourself.
All right. Cool. If you guys have questions for Ryan, feel free about Comet, feel free to type in the chat, and we'll do our best to ask them. But let's move over to operating pinball machines. Can you tell us how you got started doing that and how long you've been doing it?
Yeah, I'll try not to make too long of a story, but I got a couple of arcade games from my basement because I discovered they were only a couple $100, learned how to fix them. Then people kept asking me if I had pinball machines, and I kept saying no, and finally thought maybe I was missing something. This was like 2013. And so I got a game and then went back to this guy's house the next week for a party, and it was a high speed that I bought. And then the next week I got really into brake shot because I'm like, I want to have the cheapest DMD I can. It's fun. And so a couple weeks later I got a brake shot, and then knew some friends who wanted a game for their office, and they decided it was too expensive. And so a pinball machine. And so I was like, oh, I can buy one and, rent it out to you guys. So I got them an Addams Family, and then a month later they wanted another game. And then I it's just sort of like talking about it with other people, and I got the opportunity to start to sort of like share operating duties at a barcade where the previous operator was not keeping the games in the best shape. And so it was me and Kim from Pinball Jones in Fort Collins, who's got a couple great spots up there. So it was mostly her games. Started out with 2 of my games and 8 of hers, and then over time, like I would do all the maintenance, and every couple months she'd take a game out and I'd put one in. So it was a great way to like kind of ramp up to not needing 10 of my own games to put out at once and being able to go one at a time. And then I ended up putting 5 games into like the student union on campus, and then last week I put 7 more in a brewery that was just opening up.
Nice. So I'm gonna ask a couple quick follow-up questions. I know Kevin probably heard about the student union.
Yeah.
You just put games out in the student union on a college campus. Is that recent?
No, this was like a year and a half ago.
How does that do for you?
Not very well.
Okay. I was curious because Kevin and I both work for the university here, and I know Kevin would love to see pinball machines.
Yeah,
in the
like
student
if there's
union,
a couple pinball machines on campus, then now we're talking.
The barcade, my barcade location makes like 4 or 5 times as much per machine.
Gotcha.
And a lot of the quarters at the student union are actually regular players of mine at the barcade that happen to work on campus or be on campus for other reasons.
Okay.
And so I have this idea that maybe like a couple students are going to get into it and then they're going to like bring their friends and it'll become this thing, but that hasn't happened. So
interesting. Okay. I was always curious about it. So
yeah, as he started talking, I'm like, yeah, it kind of makes sense because college kids don't have any extra money, and if they do, it's they have their like card with their swipe cards for their meal plans.
You got to put on their campus cash.
Yeah,
card
exactly.
So
If we get some campus cash redemption on the front of that, then it'd be gone.
All right, cool. So now, how many locations do you have currently?
So I did lose this office, so I have 3. So I have 24 games across 3 locations right now.
Okay. What do you? Let's start here. What do you like about operating pinball machines, and what's something that you don't like so much about operating?
I like the community, I guess. So I run it at the barcade, which is called Press Play. It's in Boulder and on Pearl Street, which is like our main drag downtown. So I run leagues and tournaments there, and it's really felt to me like I've built this like a scene, and seeing these same people coming back, and then they bring friends, and it feels like my own little Cheers, sort of. I go in there every time I go in, it's somebody I know, and they're I wouldn't, if I had 12 machines at home, I have 12 there. I wouldn't be able to play them all. I think maybe like 3 or 4 for me at home might be the right amount for stuff that would actually get played, but. So kind of it feels a little bit like an extension of my basement. It's a mile away. I can walk there. I know people. And, whenever I open up a machine, somebody will come over and like marvel at what the inside of a pinball machine looks like and start asking questions. And so it's really rewarding because if my machines weren't there, there'd be no machines there, or, maybe there'd just be some machines that don't work that well. And so I think the opportunity to play in leagues and tournaments has really has been good for a lot of these people. They've made more friends, and instead of pinball being kind of a solo activity, they've been able. Now they feel like they're part of the community, and then they go to shows, and we go other places to play. So that'd be what I like about it. What I don't like about it is just, actually the worst part is moving machines. So if you could just like put a machine in your pocket and like walk somewhere and take it out, it'd be amazing. But moving machines is kind of a drag, and there's stairs down to the barcade, there's stairs down to my house, so it's not something I don't look forward to.
Have you've gotten like an army of people helping you, or are you
No.
You're not moving up and down the stairs yourself?
I do it all by myself. So okay, so the first couple times.
Are you taking notes? Because
I'm not. I'm taking notes. I find I'm not ever moving a machine by myself.
Yeah.
I'm just in awe. That's all.
So I after having to ask people 2 or 3 times to help me get a machine up the stairs at my house, I put out a search on Craigslist for stair climbing dolly, and eventually got one of those. And it took a long time it took like 6 months before I could get one through Craigslist, because they're like $3,000 or $4,000 new, but maybe $1,000 used. And so for going upstairs, I use a stair climbing dolly, but for going down, I do it by myself, just with an appliance dolly. And it's a little scary at first, but I've got the whole system down. Fold the head down, ratcheting strap, get behind it, like prop it up on your thigh, take the back legs off, set it down, tip it forward, take the top legs off, and it's. I mean, I guess I'm tall. I'm 6 feet tall, but I'm not. I'm a skinny guy, and I can handle it.
So we got a couple comments and questions from the chat. Attack says, tell Ryan he has the world's best order confirmations / shipping emails.
Thank you. We get a lot of props for those.
Awesome. Speedy Race says, tell Ryan we love the box of nerds included with the orders. Everybody loves the candy.
Mm-hmm.
And then
candy you perceive is not based on your perceived personality.
And M3 Satch wants to know, what machines do you have and which one is your favorite?
I probably shouldn't list off all my machines, because I have I think 30 right now. So for a while I was telling everyone that Twilight Zone was my favorite, and then I moved on to Tron, and now I would probably say Metallica.
Nice. All excellent choices.
So
yeah.
Now that you progress from pinball, you started off as a pinball player first, right? I mean, you got machines for yourself, and you learned to appreciate the machines, and then you went and put them on location. So at heart, you're a gamer, a pinball player, and then operator. Is that fair?
I would say so, yeah. And I think that if that gives me a leg up on a lot of the operators. Maybe I'll call myself a hobby operator. I don't know if I have too many for that now, but it's just a guy who puts a machine somewhere, and that's how it started. But to anybody else who's thinking about that, if you're somebody who plays and knows the difference between a game that plays well and plays poorly, and you decide to operate machines, you're going to have a leg up on these places that have 200 or 300 pieces of equipment, and whoever comes by to collect the quarters probably doesn't know the rules to the game. They don't know if the game is sluggish or if something's not working.
I think that's one of the big differences between a player operator and just your average everyday operator. It's like, we know what's wrong with the machine when we play it. Most operators, if they're not hobbyists, they're like, whatever. It takes quarters. The ball plunges and the flippers flip. It's got to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'm curious, as you kind of put on your operator hat, what are some insights? Like, are you at the point where you can look at a machine and say that machine's going to do well in location because it's got X, Y, Z, or are things still a little bit of a mystery to you?
I think I have a pretty good idea now. Some of that is just has been talking to other operators, and occasionally there's been some threads on Pinside. There was one that Cactus Jacks posted a while ago, where they gave their earnings report. And so anytime you can ask somebody about earnings, and it doesn't have to be the monetary value, but sort of the relative value, just ask people what games do best, that kind of thing. So I feel like I have a pretty good idea about what's going to do well, but I don't always know for sure. I think it may, also kind of depends what your location's like and what other games you have. So maybe Fishtails is going to be the top earner if you have a bunch of early solid state games or something like that, from 80s games. But if you have a lineup of modern Sterns, Fishtails for me is going to be close to the bottom. Now, maybe if you're in northern Minnesota or something, they do really well. But and I've just recently tried to start operating a couple of older machines. So I put a high speed on location. I put an old Chicago on location, which is, I think it's 1975. And that game actually is out earning, at a quarter of play, it's out earning the bottom dwellers of the 75-cent earners. So
wow,
maybe that's because it's new, or maybe just people appreciate that, like having an EM with the chimes and 5 balls.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
When you let me ask you this: when Stern releases a game, do you think it's the theme that really drives a lot of the coin that a game gets? Do you it was Ghostbusters? It didn't matter how the game played. Was it just going to be a hit because it's Ghostbusters? Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And the reaction, some of it maybe, I'm trying to gauge from the reactions online from people on the forums. Now, I mean, Pinside can be a polarizing place, and everybody was trashing Dialed In, and I'm going to get it dialed in. But I've heard that it earns well, and people who play it like it. So I'm excited about that coming pretty soon. But oh gosh, I forgot where this question started.
The theme, does the theme drive the coin drop?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, certainly I have my own biases there, and so if let's say I hated Ghostbusters, I still would have bought that game because it just seemed like everybody was gonna dig it. The art, the art was awesome. And before that game came out, just we all saw the art and we saw the layout, that got leaked, and to me I was like, oh, this is something different. I thought that Game of Thrones was going to be a slam dunk, and it wasn't nearly as good as Ghostbusters. It's pretty good, but that one actually I think has been has sort of had staying power, where I think people are still learning that game and getting more into that game as they learn the rules better. So, but I didn't get Aerosmith. I didn't get WrestleMania, and so it's I don't want to buy it just based on theme, but I sort of will, because as an operator, if I can get something right away and have it right in the beginning, that's people are going to come play it, and hopefully it's not a dud. But I don't have the money to I can't get everything, so maybe I'm picking every third best game. So Star Wars, we're gonna talk about Star Wars later. I don't know. You're gonna.
We can talk about Star Wars.
But just that seemed like, if I'm not buying that game based on theme, then what am I? I should just be buying that, even though it just kind of looks sort of like a simple layout. Maybe hard to tell if it's gonna, how cool it's gonna be, but people are gonna play that game, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, even right. Even if it turns out to not be that good, people are gonna play it when it first comes. People who are casual people are going to come by and put money in it, and you can buy a new in-box game, operate it for a while, and sell it, and it might only cost you a couple $100 to sell it used.
So I think, do we ask a tax question? He asked if you LED your games on location, which I think, come on, Attack.
I think he's just setting that one up.
Embarrassingly, not all of my games are LED'd yet.
Oh, wow. Not a crazy question. Attack was, oh, man.
We're getting some scandal here tonight. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. I'm now in this mode where I have more time now, and I'm going to go through and sort of methodically kind of go through and make kits for all the games that I have. A lot of the games that I buy that didn't come with LEDs, I buy a lot of my games used, and so, somebody else put LEDs in them. And so I'm letting it ruminate, what I want to change about those games, and then I also finally just built I built a bunch of little tackle boxes full of LEDs, every different thing, because it's difficult to so then I can just walk in with this stack of LEDs with all different types and do it on location, instead of taking it upstairs and into a car and across town and into my office where all the bulbs are.
Besides, when you buy all those LEDs, you're going to need a whole lot of candy to go along with them.
That's right.
You brought up Dialed In, and the chat's talking about it. What I should definitely point out, and you should take a lot of credit for this, is when it was unveiled at Expo, right? Everyone, it seems, was just disappointed or underwhelmed. It was getting trashed on Pinside, and then you played it, and then you put a post. You were the one positive, or the first positive post about the game, and I read it the morning after, and you just kind of broke it down how you're I'm an operator, this is going to do well, this is amazing. And I think you helped turn some of that negative tide and got people playing the game, and then they got to see what you saw in it. which was great because I was worried we were going to go play the game a week after at Jersey Jack's factory, and I was a little worried that the game was just going to be a dud.
Yeah.
But what you wrote was great. I still remember this, and so many people probably read that post that you put on there. So kudos to you, man. You called it early on.
Thanks. That post has more upvotes than the sum of every other post I've ever made.
Well, it's well deserved.
I just came home and I just went to my hotel at night and I read all the stuff that people were posting and I was like, wait a minute, this is not. But I can understand seeing the reveal from people, a shaky handheld camera and you don't get to play it and the theme is kind of weird. But I'm really excited to have it. It's
Cool.
It's fun. Every time I've played that game, played at a couple different shows now. Like I've enjoyed every game I played on it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll talk. Kevin and I will talk a little bit more about that, but the game's awesome. So Brian effing Dykeman asked the question: how long does it take to recoup the cost for a game you put on location? So let's talk maybe like I don't know. You can go to good or average. What would an average new Stern take? What would you be happy with?
I think actually a lot of games are coming in around probably 2 years. So after the split with the location, that it's taking about 2 years to pay off games. At my location, I actually get 100% of 2 of the games and then 50-50 in all the rest. And in the end, it works out to be about like 65-35. My Ghostbusters actually paid itself off in less than a year. So that was awesome. And I happen to have like one of the first ones, I think the first one in Colorado and one of the first ones anywhere. I'm not sure how I got lucky there, but it was making like $40 a day the first, week or two, which is just awesome. And that's, maybe that's 4 times what a normal game would make there. But, so yeah, I think that's been pretty consistent for me. Two-ish years. And, it also seems like maybe it's just a coincidence, but the games, the more I spend on games, the more they earn, and the less, the less expensive games earn less. So
Interesting.
That could just be total luck, but I think, the new Sterns, like they just earn higher, and the Hobbits and the Wizard of Oz's. So I usually get pros also. So, I guess I always get pros if I can.
Would you say your players are mostly like pinball people, or are they mostly casual, or is it kind of a mix?
I think they're mostly pinball people, and that's an interesting thing, I guess, to talk about. I don't know, it's probably different at different locations, but I think at Press Play, where the majority of my time and effort goes, I think it's regulars, and I can't think of the specific evidence I have for that right now, but I know in the past there's been some signs to me like, oh, this is, there wasn't a league or there wasn't a tournament or that kind of thing. Like, oh, earnings were down a little bit, or even though I have a pretty good location, one player can be enough to like push a game from like number 5 to number 1. And so there's some times where like, you're like, oh, Metallica isn't earning as well as it normally does. And then I come in one day and I see Kurt there and I'm like, hey, Kurt, you've been out of town, haven't you? And he's like, yeah.
That's hilarious.
So, just one, you can get a person who comes in every day after work, puts in $5, and like that can be a very meaningful, amount for that game.
Cool. When we were talking about theme and you had mentioned Ghostbusters, I remember in our conversation, a month or two ago, you were saying when you got Ghostbusters, people were driving like an hour away to come play that game, which just, I guess, goes to show how important theme can be for a pinball machine.
Totally. Yeah. And I had it first, and so there was nowhere else to play it. And, it's, maybe it's different. Well, actually you guys are kind of maybe you guys have a similar situation, but, in Colorado, there's Denver, and everybody lives within like an hour of Denver, basically. And that's, I don't know, 80% of the population of the state, maybe more. And then from there, you got to drive. I mean, there's no major cities. I don't know. You might have to drive 8 or 10 hours to get to like another major city. So it kind of feels in some ways like we're very fortunate here. Like machines kind of are drawn to this area. Like people buy them and they, from surrounding areas, and they stay here. And we have a lot of, we have a great scene for tournaments and leagues, and a lot of locations with 10 or more machines. And so it's but yeah, I've been going around asking all the other operators, like, to try and find out who's going to get it dialed in, and am I going to have it first?
Well, it's big because, like, players who may be considering buying the game want to get their chance to put their hands on the machine first too. So I'm sure getting it first is like, oh, I can run down there and throw $20 in it before I decide to put 5,000 down on it.
Absolutely.
Cool. Can you tell us a little? Well, let me ask you this. I was going to talk about your podcast. Kevin can ask some questions about that.
Sure.
Can you provide some kind of basic advice for somebody who might be thinking about operating pinball machines? What are some things some words of wisdom that you can impart on them?
Totally. I guess it's just do it. There's been a lot of threads that I've seen on Pinside where people ask if they should, and lots of people chime in and like, no, you shouldn't do it because of this. What if somebody damages your machine? What if someone gets hurt? What if they call you at 3 a.m. and say they're going to, toss your machine out on the street if you don't fix it right away? And I think I'm I guess an optimistic person, so I kind of, don't think like that. But none of that stuff has happened to me. Like, I've never had any machines damaged. I've, had good relationships with my locations. And you know what, if one of them was being a jerk, then I just, don't put machines there and, don't deal with that. But it's if you're listening to this, you're somebody who already like knows how to play pinball, knows how games should play well, and you will have your games will play better than perhaps the other operators you're up against in town, and you will respond faster to inquiries. We've all seen machines down for days or weeks at a time. Something goes down, if you can get to it that day, you do it. If not, do it the next day. It's not you want to do as good a job as you can, but you shouldn't feel like it's this weight hanging over you, where like you're just nervous about getting that call about something not working. It's okay, turn the game off. It's okay for it to be off for a little bit of time. So I guess that would be my advice. And then, as much as you can try and form a community around it, the better. Not everyone will have the opportunity to put in multiple games, but if you do, I'd recommend that. I would not want to have 24 machines at 24 different locations. Like, I just wouldn't do that. So having a couple in one place where you can, reduce the number of, you're just going to one place for your collections, for maintenance, all that stuff. And then you being able to, you'll probably be there a lot in the beginning. You can start meeting players. You can run some events, and that's gonna, I would be way less into it if it was this anonymous thing where I just showed up every couple of weeks, took the quarters out, and then walked away.
Right. You built a community around it, which is awesome, and I think that's what I like about getting into the operator side is, when the machines are getting plays and there's money at, that means there are people playing pinball who normally wouldn't be playing pinball because it wouldn't be at this location if it wasn't for what we're doing. And that's very satisfying because there's so many people in Buffalo who haven't seen a machine in God knows how long. So that community is just going to grow. And the other point is, you mentioned that people were criticizing on Pinside and had some worries about what if they throw the machine out or what if somebody gets hurt. I mean, those are easy things to address. You get a contract when you put a machine on location. So if they do decide to if a business decides to trash your machine or throw the machine out on the street, well, you've got their signature that you can go after them. They're responsible for damage, and you get insurance on the machine as well. So all these things, all these issues that somebody might have or apprehensions, it's not like they're not real, but they're ways to mitigate them.
Yeah, and I would say, just try it and see what happens. It's you're not committing to operating doesn't mean like you're in for a lifetime of whatever. Like, you can try it for a couple of weeks, and if you don't like the way it's going or there's problems, then you stop doing it. I mean, I've never had any problems, and I didn't overthink it too much, and I just said, like, let's see where this goes. And there's a route where you can go, like you said, with contracts and insurance and all this stuff. There's another route that lots of people take, which is just maybe you have some kind of connection to the person and you decide like you don't need a contract, and that kind of stuff. So it's and I guess also just if you're somebody who's going to worry too much about their machines, then don't put your baby out there that you're not going to want people to touch. But I've maybe people spill a drink on the machine, but I've never had any damage otherwise.
Cool. So one more question on operating, and then we'll wrap it up with your podcast. So Attack asks, how often do you need to do a full shop job on a location game?
I don't know the answer to that, and I wish I was taking better notes. But it's thousands of games, definitely, that you can go between, having to rebuild the flippers. Like, for example, so I will, I'll start out when I put something on a location, with it being nice, rebuilt the flippers, cleaned it, new rubbers, all that stuff. And then I actually haven't been really doing shop jobs on location. I will, I'm kind of just cleaning, replacing rubbers when needed, replacing flipper parts when needed. And if I end up moving a game to a different location, then sometimes I'll take that as an opportunity to do something bigger, I guess, or like, more thorough. But I think, yeah, I mean, it's, you can go thousands of plays with, so probably, year, 2 years even, like, you're fixing stuff as it breaks, but, you don't have to like, I don't have a schedule for like tearing down, and rebuilding games.
Awesome. So, well, if, running an LED business and operating pinball machines weren't enough, you also do a podcast, right? It's called the Little Kings Pinball Podcast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, my good friend here, Kevin Ryan, he's Caucasian two-step on Pinside. He's got the most reviews. Like, if you've read reviews for any machine, you've read his reviews. He's done, like, hundreds of games. That's just his thing.
You post them on, on Pinside?
Yeah, I know, I totally know the name now. Yeah.
So he's awesome, and he operates games as well. I guess, I don't know how quickly I met him when I was getting to the pinball community, but went to a party at his house, and he's got this like tiny looking ranch house, with like a gravel front yard, and then you go inside and the couch has been pushed to the side and there's 4 machines in the living room, and then there's like 30 machines crammed into every room in the basement, like next to the laundry machine, all this other stuff. So he's into pinball, but so he was bugging me about doing a podcast, and so we've been doing something called the Little Kings Pinball Podcast for a while, maybe since last October. We've been kind of inconsistent about episodes. Sometimes we'll do a bunch in a row, and then sometimes it goes a little while. Kevin has been doing some interviews. He interviewed Roger Sharp pretty recently, and some other big names. But we just got some new mics, and so we each have our own mic, and we're trying to take it a little more seriously in terms of our audio recording. But it's been fun to. I really miss. I love listening to pinball podcasts. I miss Coast to Coast. Our show is not that good, not as good as Coast to Coast, but
we all try.
we talk about operating. We talk a lot about playing, and we do this thing called bias, beginner, intermediate, advanced strategies for different games. And I guess maybe sometimes it's challenging because you don't have the visuals, but we'll sit around and talk. It's a thing that I wish more people did, because you don't know what who your listeners are, and even people who are regulars of mine who play in leagues and tournaments, I'll overhear somebody asking questions that I can't believe they don't know the answers to, and so that's why it's like, I don't want to go too overboard when explaining a game, but it's like, if you just want to know that the simple thing that a beginner should do, do this. Here's the thing if you want to go a little more advanced, and then go really deep on the other side.
Awesome. So what inspired you to kind of get into doing podcasting? Was it just the I think once Coast to Coast kind of took a hiatus, people were like, "Oh man, I want more," and I think that kind of inspired us a little bit. And I have a long commute, so I know like Nick likes his podcast bite size. I like the big long, epic ones because
people like you are going to be really happy with this one.
Yeah, I drive like an hour every day, so they get eaten up quick.
I think just having somebody who wanted to do it with me, that's why Kevin just was bugging me, and I finally said, all right, we'll do it. And, I mean, because we end up like we'd be talking on the phone for a half an hour or an hour, about just all this different stuff, and so why not record it and share it with other people? And sometimes I kind of it hasn't really become a part of my identity yet. I'm probably in the way that it has for you guys, but I'm starting to have some rewarding conversations in person, like at a tournament where somebody else like, hey, I was listening to you guys talk about this, and then ask questions about a game or ask questions about something else we're following up, or they will beat me at Metallica and then say, yeah, I've been practicing since I listened to your podcast because I didn't understand about the spider shots and the coffin hurry-ups, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of feedback is super rewarding when it happens.
I think Ryan and I can both agree that the first step to podcasting is finding a buddy named Kevin, and then the rest is pretty easy after that.
It just works itself out.
There you go.
Yeah, totally.
Well, listen, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on, spending some time to talk to us about Comet, about operating pinball machines. I know you inspired, Speeder Rice was just saying this is really inspiring. He's been talking about putting a game out on location in a comic book shop, so yeah.
Yeah,
changing lives, man.
Yeah, we've had a lot of questions in the chat, which means people were enjoying what you had to say. So thank you so much for joining us. And
I'm going to say this for like the 8th time, but seriously, I love hyping T-shirts.
Oh, here we go.
I love doing it. We've got awesome T-shirts. Double Danger's got awesome T-shirts, but Comet, check it out, man. They got the T-shirt I got from Comet Pinball is like my favorite. It's the softest. What was that, Tri-Blend?
I don't know.
It's amazing, dude. I don't know. I sleep in this thing. It's great. Highly recommend. It looks good on you. So, grab yourself a Comet T-shirt when you pick up some LEDs. Highly recommend it.
And wear it to Pinburg.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. And if you all be looking like this at Pinburg, so if you see me, just like come up and say hi, challenge me to a game, or talk strategy or LEDs or whatever. We just did a show, the Rocky Mountain Pinball Showdown, and spent most of the time not selling bulbs, but just talking to people, like answering questions. Because there's a lot of, there used to just be 4 bulbs when it was incandescent, and now there's a lot. And so, people have questions, and you got the non-ghosting and all of that stuff. And I've got the answers.
All right, awesome.
Well,
we'll see you at Pinburg, man.
Yeah, and don't forget when you check out at Comet Pinball in the notes, tell them you need extra gummy bears because you heard it here.
That's right. All right. Cool.
All right, Ryan.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
See you.
All right, okay, so should we get let's see what we got on the docket first. Game room updates.
Oh boy. All right.
You go ahead.
All right. So before we get into game room updates, let's talk about one thing we got going on here, and that is, where is it? Oh, we can go right up here. Maybe. Smooth transitions, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Buffalo Pinball Summer Open 2017. So it's officially announced, officially launched. If you go to buffalopinball.com/Papa Circuit, you can get all the information about our second Papa Circuit event, and what is officially the last Papa Circuit event. We can get into that
it's a
later.
Circuit major.
Yeah, it is a major this year. So it's August 18th to 20th at Pocketeer Billiards here in Buffalo, New York. It's going to be a 3-day tournament. One main tournament running the 18th and 19th with the finals on the 20th. And then 2 classics tournaments happening, one on the 18th, one on the 19th. In addition, our viewer and friend Steve Daniels has taken on the
Spirit Animal.
Yeah, Jay's Spirit Animal.
Well, Jay's former coach.
Yeah, he's taken on running a Thursday tournament, a pre-Buffalo Pinball Summer Open 3 strikes tournament, because we got feedback from players who were coming into town, and they said, we want more pinball. 3 days of pinball is not enough. We need 4 days of pinball.
It makes sense, though, because a lot of people are making a long trek to come to Buffalo, so you want to give them as much pinball as possible. So thanks to Steve for doing that. Kevin and I actually get to play in that tournament because we don't play in the one we run. there's just no time for that. We want to give 100% of our attention to the Buffalo Pinball Summer Open, but we'll be playing in the Thursday tournament.
Yes.
That's at 5 o'clock, I believe it starts at Pocketeer Billiards, 3 strikes. A lot of people do come in town anyways that night, so if you're planning on coming out for that, consider coming out even earlier because there's a good reason. I mean, hell, come early. Come on Thursday morning in Buffalo. Go to Community Beer Works. Say hi to those folks. Go to the tournament. Actually, they only probably open. They open at 3, so you can get yourself all liquored up, and then come on down and play in Steve Daniels 3 Strikes tournament.
See, we mentioned his name, and poof, he appears in chat. So he knows.
Yeah.
He knows. He's like, now's
like
about the time in
Beetlejuice,
the
man.
show when they're going to start talking about me, so I'm going to tune in. So you can. Here's the one thing for Thursday night. Nick and I are not making rulings. We're not fixing machines.
We're just there, man. Don't come to me with problems because I don't care.
When your
Bug
ball
Steve
gets
Daniels.
stuck, you got to bug Steve.
Because I'll care for the next 3 days. I'm
That's
going to
right.
lose my mind. You know? I'm going to have that intense look on my face. But Thursday we play pinball, man.
For sure. Pinball Wiz says we need to meet up at Pinburg. Yes, absolutely. We will. We can mention that. So the Wednesday before Pinburg, we have historically gone to a Pirates game or something like that. But the Pirates are out of town.
Historically, we went one time.
One time.
It was historic.
It was. It's in the past. It's
Yeah.
history. So we're going to be hanging out at Kickback on the Wednesday before Pinburg starts. So Kickback Cafe in Pittsburgh. I don't know the address offhand, but it's informal. Just hang out and play pinball kind of thing.
Yeah, we're just gonna be there. So if you're about playing pinball with us, that's a good way to do it because obviously we can do that Replay FX. Come up and say hi to us, and we'll try to play pinball. But we also might be competing then. So it's kind of more chill, fun environment where we can kind of just kick back and play with you guys. So.
Awesome.
Consider that. By the way, Buffalo Pinball Summer Open, we got another food truck announced today.
Ooh,
we're gonna have a food truck on Friday for dinner. So Mediterranean, it's called Venus Mediterranean food truck. Saturday we've got Anderson serving beef on weck. That was a huge
hit. Yeah.
Huge hit. That's like a Buffalo staple, even though it's not my cup of tea. But Anderson's also has ice cream. So we're gonna try to pack lunches and dinners with food trucks at the Summer Open because I know it was a big hit last year. So it's going to be a good time. I can't wait. I'm kind of in that mode right now where the summer's been around. I've been able to relax. I've been able to kind of step away from pinball, but now I'm ramping up and I'm ready, man.
Yep.
It's going to be good.
Name us beef what?
Beef on whack. W-E-C-K.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not from Buffalo, so I had to learn that.
Google it. It's like a roast beef, a fancy roast beef
It's
sandwich.
a roast beef sandwich, and it's on a
salty
roll.
bun.
The roll has salt dumped on the top of it, pretty much. I mean, that's the extent of it. And horseradish.
There you go. All right. So what else is going on? Gamer updates for me. I am in prep mode for a tournament I'm hosting here in July. Because, running a Papa Circuit event over the summer isn't enough. Let's run another tournament where we're going to do our first Critical Hit tournament. So this is the format developed by Carl D'Angelo. It's a card-based pinball tournament. So if you've ever played like Magic the Gathering or something like that, you get cards that you can use to influence play. This flipping podcast did a show with Carl a couple episodes ago. You can go back in the archives. He gives a full description of it. But basically, say I'm playing and I play this card, then you got to play a whole game with all the scores covered up, so you don't know how you are, where you're standing in the game, or I don't know. You can swap a player from one group to another group, stuff like that.
As Wildcat says, because pinball wasn't nerdy enough.
Yeah,
so now it includes both my loves.
Yeah,
board games and pinball.
Yeah, so Nick is all in. He's getting the cards all sleeved up and everything, so they don't get
Can't wait.
fingerprints on
Little
them.
card condoms.
I got my bag of 20-sided dice. I did. I should have got them down here for props. I got some props for the rest of my updates. But I've been shopping out Vector. Speaking of Comet LEDs, I got Comet LEDs in that. I've been putting Titan rings on it. I rebuilt the upper flipper, so kind of just playing through games, seeing what needs to be tweaked, getting things playing as well as they can before the tournament. Viking is also, I put a new board in it that didn't end up helping the problem, so Bruce is actually coming out Wednesday night to help me diagnose that, because it's just tilting out in the middle of the game. And it's legit because there's no tilt bob in there.
When's he coming out?
Wednesday night. Yeah, and it's done it when the ball's sitting in the shooter lane. It's really weird.
Okay.
So we're still trying to diagnose.
He's Mr. Bally. He can fix it.
Oh yeah, I have confidence that it will get fixed. Bruce from the Slam Tilt podcast. Check him out.
He just referred to himself in the chat in the third person.
Of course he did. Bruce's Dragon Lair. All right. So, moving on, other game room updates. I sold my Grand Lizard.
Yep.
And Jackpot is getting sold. You may ask, well, Kevin, why are you selling 2 pinball machines? And my answer would be because I'm buying a dialed in.
You're buying a dialed in?
I am.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Dude, that's awesome. You know what? I'm buying a dialed in
What?
too. Yeah.
What? That's crazy talk.
Yeah.
It's going to be 2 dialed ins.
There's going to be 2 dialed ins. So that'll be our first Jersey Jack official machine. After Kevin kind of got on early that you wanted dialed in.
Oh, yeah. I wanted
Probably
it.
talked about it last podcast, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe I was like, I needed a I need a Jersey Jack game in my life, and this is the game. I fell in love with it when we went down there to the factory, and ever since we played it again, I'm like, yep, that's it. I got to get it. So, can I buy the Jackpot? No, because this guy's buying it.
I bought it for the operating business, so that's gonna be going out in location in Buffalo.
Yep.
So you didn't hear that from me.
You'll be
It's
able
supposed
to
to be a
play it.
surprise. God damn it! There goes that.
Oh, you ruined the surprise. Yeah. So dialed in is on the way. Should be here in August, hopefully, and then we'll probably do an unboxing stream and all sorts of good stuff like that.
I can't wait. After having it in my place, I'm just like, I gotta get this game.
Well, Bad Girls needs a buddy.
And Martha's getting it too, so me and Martha are splitting it. So works out. God bless her.
She's a keeper. One other thing. So starting this weekend, I will be down in Minnesota for Pinball Done Quick. It's the official side stream for Awesome Games Done Quick. No, Summer Games Done Quick. It's called Summer Games Done Quick in the summer. Basically what it is a 168-hour straight pinball stream, all to benefit Doctors Without Borders. We're going to be giving away a Stern Star Wars pinball machine. Every $25 donation will get you in one entry into for a chance to win the Star Wars. We also have midnight giveaways for everybody who follows. It's going to be broadcast on twitch.tv/ML Pinball, as in Major League Pinball. So go over there, give that channel a follow, and you'll be entered to win. The tentative game list, hopefully, fingers crossed, a brand new Star Wars from Stern. Dialed In will be there. X-Men, World Cup Soccer, Terminator 2, F-14 Tomcat, Bride of Pinbot 2.0, Star Trek Premium, Bouncing Around, Judge Dredd, Hollywood Heat, and Shrek. So quite a range of pinball machines there. But we're going to be playing them all week. I will be there from Sunday to Wednesday. And then, we're going to have a team of 24-hour pinball coverage happening.
I'll be jealous if you get to play the new Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I'm hoping to make you jelly.
Okay.
So, all right, that's all I got. That's quite a bit, but that's all I got. Nick, this is the blank. This is where you fill in the blank.
Well, I mean, I just said I'm getting it dialed in. I mean, what more do I need? That's not enough game room update for anybody. Then I can't please you people.
Last time you added a whole pinball room. How you gonna top it?
I know. Well, Bad Girls is still broken. It's getting there. I've got local collector John Barsh helping me on it, and then we got to move on to trying to fix 8-Ball Champ. But it's the summertime, so I'm not stressing too bad. But my folks are coming up. Mark and Karen are coming up to visit me, and Karen Lane needs to play Bad Girls.
She does.
I'm going to be like, listen, my mom's coming up. She's gonna be pissed off if Bad Girls is not working. All right, let's get on that.
Fugel wants to know when the Bad Girls stream is coming. So
man, I was hoping Fugel that it was this Thursday, but it's not. It's not working. So we're gonna stream. What are we doing? Firepower, right?
Yeah, Firepower at Jeff's house.
I don't know, man. As soon as we get it working, and then we can get all the bros together. So maybe next month, something like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully within the next month. That's next on the docket. Let's just put it that way.
Yep.
Because we've got the Zima. We just have to have the Bad Girls working, and we're ready to party.
Bad. All right, that's it for game room updates. Let's move on into news.
There's a lot of news.
So this was like one of the most jam-packed months of news in recent memory. As soon as we wrapped up the last podcast, Stern officially announced Star Wars Pinball, a theme that has been visited many times in pinball, but arguably never really done right. So we're hoping that Stern can pull it off here. The pricing on it is the same as Aerosmith, so these are MSRP prices, so street price is going to be lower. But the Pro is at $6,200, Premium at $7,900, and the LE at just under $9,000, $8,999. So,
which I'll tell you right now, you can get pricing on from a distributor. You can get it $5,400 shipped.
Okay,
for a Pro.
All right,
includes shipping, and you won't pay tax if you, well, depending on where you live. So, Just pro tip.
Tips.
Don't pay $61.99.
Yeah, don't go to Amazon and pay
Don't
$61.99.
do
for
that
because you're doing it wrong. Find a distributor. There's a bunch on Pinside.
Yeah.
All sorts of good stuff.
Yep.
I guess nobody's played it yet, and there hasn't been any gameplay footage of it released. The only video we've seen is this little like minute-long clip that was on IGN. My first reaction to it was just like, well, part of the problem was how they announced it. So it came out as part of a video on the Star Wars Facebook page, and so people were like screen capping the video, and those were getting posted on Pinside. And I was like, oh, this is kind of like what. The playfield is just like whatever, and
that's not what you private messaged me.
Yeah,
you had some strong language.
Yeah. Well, the strong language was I said it looked like a Sega, which I still kind of hold by it. Like looking at the playfield on that, it's just like, man,
so it's trash.
Yeah. Right. I'm trying to be nice, trying to be positive. Yeah, the first reaction was not good when it came to that, but. The more like the high res photos have come out, I think maybe now that I know what to expect when I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's not so bad. And I'm hoping that as you get to play it, that it's going to end up being a great playing game because I want a great Star Wars game. I'm a Star Wars fan. I've played the other ones and I'm just like kind of like, eh. But fingers crossed for a great game. But from the initial artwork and the playfield's pretty barren. Impressions from the art are not good.
Yeah, I mean, when you know a game's coming down the pipe, right? We knew Star Wars was coming, and it's Star Wars, right? And this Star Wars means it's very important to a lot of people. This is like the dream title for a lot of people. Yes, I can care less, but I understand and I can appreciate that. So the pressure's on Stern to deliver something special, especially when you have. Other companies are really stepping up their game and other companies are popping up. So what is Stern going to do when they got that license and then the reveal? And it's like, okay, I don't know. It didn't excite, right? I saw that and I don't know if you're just expecting too much. But I think most people are disappointed on just kind of the first initial impression of looking at the game. And I can understand why. The art's not anything special. The layout looks like they just copied AC/DC pretty much. People have actually overlaid AC/DC on top of it, so it looks, again, like a copy and paste. There's not too many things original in there. The toy is like this egg that I guess opens, which is a Death Star. They're making Cadbury egg jokes. It's just not the kind of thing where you look at it and your first impression is like, oh my God, I've got to have that. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't, listen, until you play the game and you have the lights and the sounds and the modes and how it shoots, then you can really make a judgment of how the game is overall. But the reveal left a lot to be desired. And now let's contrast that when Ghostbusters came out last year, and I was blown away by it. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing the Ghostbusters Pro, and not only did it look beautiful, but I actually thought the Pro was the premium because it had a lot of stuff on it. Mm-hmm. Conversely, Star Wars is rather barren. So just not a great first impression. It was sort of like when Game of Thrones came out. There was this disappointment over the artwork. There's not much on the playfield, not much going on. So again, that's just the first impression. That's all we can talk about right now without playing it.
Can somebody please get Steve Ritchie a good artist? Can we team Steve Ritchie up with Zombie Yeti or Dirty Donnie or somebody like that to because it was Game of Thrones and now it's this. It's like just. Like, yeah, I've seen the close-up pictures of Star Wars, and yes, it's hand-drawn technically, but it's the kind of hand-drawn where it's just like, oh, I have this hand-drawn piece of art, and we're going to put it here. It's like Stern just showed the topper for Batman. Let's bring it back to Batman, and it's the same pictures of the characters on top that are all over the playfield.
Yeah,
it's like
just uninspired.
That's not what people want when they want hand-drawn art. They want a concept applied to a whole pinball machine.
The art doesn't look good. It looks like almost like a Zizzle kind of deal. It just looks so barren, man. Yeah. I don't know.
And it's got all those X's. I'm like, is this X-Files or is this Star Wars?
It's ugly. It's ugly Sega artwork.
Yeah.
From the pictures that we saw. Yeah. It's probably better in person, but it just looks like you mentioned, the X-Files. It looks like almost Austin Powers because it's got like these weird kind of colorings on it. I don't know. It's just weird, man. It doesn't. I'm not trashing it because I'm just not excited over seeing the initial release, right?
And the art is all we have to go on now. We don't have any gameplay
all we have to go on.
It's been sitting here for like a month,
let's talk on the upside. Look at Steve Ritchie's designing the game. All right, it's gonna shoot well. Mm-hmm. He's gonna make a game that shoots well. Well, first of all, it looks like it's AC/DC, so of course it's gonna
shoot well.
But take it for what it's worth. Dwight Sullivan's doing the rules. He's just been crushing it lately, so I imagine it's gonna have good rules to it. It's got a LCD screen in the game on all models in it, so there's another level of interaction in addition to the LCD in the back box. So, they can create an immersive experience, and they can create a game that has really cool moments with lights and sounds and rules. So, notwithstanding the initial impression, they can just do a total 180, and it could be one of the best games ever. You don't know, but just to look at it, it just looks uninspired.
Yep. It's based on the reactions, it's not what people wanted out of a Star Wars game, at least from a visual and like stuff on the playfield perspective. But as we've seen with like Dialed In, games can have these initial like gut check reactions where it's like, oh god, I'm never buying that. It's a game about a phone. The guy's got mom jeans, whatever. But then you start playing the game.
Who's
and
got mom jeans on Dialed In?
The main character, I guess.
The guy's got mom jeans?
Yeah, I guess. That's what
I'm
people
usually good
saying.
at spotting that.
Yeah.
Oh. All right.
He's not like the Bell Walker jeans. It's different jeans.
Okay.
But yeah, people start playing the game and then they're like, oh, this is actually a really great game. I'm going to buy it. So I hope that's the case for Star Wars.
Yeah, we're getting one for my business, so
Nice.
we'll be putting one on location.
Party.
Yep. All right.
What's next in news? Heighway.
We had Star Wars pictures, but we're
Oh yeah, I
past,
did.
we're past
whatever.
that. Go look online.
I spent all that time putting them in here. Oh, whatever.
I thought you had a plan. I didn't realize you
I
forgot.
did.
Okay.
Nah, whatever.
All right.
Screw it. All right. Heighway Pinball. So
It's all you, man. I just
Andrew Heighway, namesake of Heighway Pinball, no longer with Heighway Pinball. So
not in any capacity.
Nope,
He's
he's out.
he's on the beach right now.
yeah, I think he's still technically like part of the company, but he doesn't have. He gave up the majority of the stake to these new funders. So they've been having all sorts of issues bringing Alien to production. They've got like 10 of them out there or something like that. Tommy from This Flippin' Podcast had one and sold it. I know he was having issues trying to get the alien head working because they were shipped incomplete. And I don't know where they stand as far as like giving refunds or when the production's going to step up. I haven't kept that close of an eye on it, but just the fact that you've got the Andrew Heighway, who started the company, had all the passion for it, had to kind of step away. And he, if you look online, he posted a big long goodbye letter that you can refer to and read. But big changes there. I hope it. As we say time and time again, pinball is hard. Thank you to Coast to Coast. And, I think I came up with this, but I buy pinball machines that exist.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously.
That's my pro tip. If it exists and you've played it and you can go and buy it and get it shipped to you, then buy it.
Wishful thinking won't make a pinball machine come to life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just because you want a game and you like a theme so badly, don't put the money down the pre-order. Don't do it. Because you've seen time and time again. Mm-hmm. There's way too many examples. There's far more examples of bad things happening than good things happening.
Awesome. Yeah, it's like if you'll always be, if they come out and they sell a bunch of them, if you're not able to buy one new for whatever reason, there will always be one for sale secondhand. Buy a secondhand one if maybe you're the kind of person that doesn't want a used machine, but you'll be able to get one if you really want one if they do end up making it to production. So along those lines, let's talk Dutch Pinball and Big Lebowski.
Okay.
Because they're having the similar issues. Imagine that. So Nick, you were actually in on the Big Lebowski when it was first announced.
Long time ago, when it was first announced, and
was
you can put
that
money
like
in
3
it.
years ago now?
God, it was coming up on 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because it was, when did Metallica come out? Because it was about
2013, spring 2013. So I think I put a down payment on Big Lebowski in like October 2013.
Yeah.
And then I wised up like a month later. A month or two later, I wised up. I'm like, wait a minute. This is just, my money's going to be sitting in limbo. Mm-hmm. And they even had problems then where the marketing guy kind of was
just,
get
disappeared.
out. No, he was just like, get out. Just get your, and man, it was a month of me trying to get my money back and just wondering if I just lost it for good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, don't do it, man. I was there. I kind of bought into the hype because Lebowski one of my dream themes and everything, and it's just not worth it, man. The game's gonna. Well, all these games are going to be available in some way, shape, or form. Now, if a company says we're making 200 games and that's it, if you want to roll the die on it, go for it. But even then, it's too much of a risk.
Yeah. So they did a live stream a week or so ago where they were answering questions from the early achievers. And a lot of it was about, can we get our refunds? When are they going in production? What's going on? So the Cliff's Notes version of it is they were in contract with ARA, a contract manufacturer. That manufacturer built a number of these machines and are not shipping them because they want more money from Dutch Pinball. And so they keep going back and forth, and Dutch Pinball doesn't want to pay them more because they agreed allegedly to the lower price. At least, this is what they said in their stream. And people have asked for their refunds. They said they don't have enough money to give everybody refunds. So if they were to refund people, they would only have enough to give 60 people their refunds. So it's either they don't give refunds and try to get these games built by another manufacturer, or they give 60 refunds and not everybody gets their money back and everybody's mad anyway. So they're going to really, they've decided they're going to try and feel it out and make these games happen with this other manufacturer. But I guess, and I missed this in the live stream, so I heard this secondhand, but somebody said I guess the manufacturer actually owns some of the intellectual property of some of the mechanics in the machine. So they can't just take this game, take it to another manufacturer and say, build this.
Let me stop you right there. The plane has crashed into the goddamn mountains, okay? Yeah. Just jump ship.
Yeah,
get out.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Mess, dude. Yeah. Do not send them any money. If you have sent them money, it's just, if you get your game, consider it a happy surprise. Yeah. It's because it's not looking good.
Yep.
So, unfortunately, there's two negative. But it just goes back to the fact, we've revisited this topic a number of times. If it's Magic Girl or if it's whatever, a startup.
God bless Stern. Mm-hmm. God bless Jersey Jack and Spooky.
Yeah,
they're making games, selling games, producing games, and people are getting them in their homes.
Yep.
So, it ain't easy.
Yep.
But that's that.
All right, let's.
We did our obligation of saying that news out loud, and a lot of people might know about that, but not everybody does. So I think that if we can help at least one person,
that's right. The more you know. All right, well, let's finish off news on a positive note. So the Stern Pro Circuit was announced. So this is still very early stages, but what it's going to be, they're going to be transitioning the Papa Circuit to the Stern Pro Circuit. And there are two main differences from what I've been able to determine. Finals will now be in Chicago in February, March, which to me is speaking of rolling the dice. Do you want to travel to Chicago in February or March? And
I didn't realize Papa Circuit's going away.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's transition. Oh, news to Nick.
This is okay. Continue.
Yeah. And Stern is putting up a pro pinball machine to the winner of the circuit.
So do all the games have to be Stern games that you use in these tournaments?
Not for the main circuit's going to continue the way it has.
Okay, cool.
For the finals, it's going to be on all modern and then a bank of classic Sterns.
That's to be honest, that's fine. And for our tournament, we use a lot of Sterns anyways because interesting rule sets and newer machines are going to hold up well. So yep. I get it. That's cool.
Yeah. So the other change, so I lied, there's three changes that I know of. The third is that for events to make it onto the circuit, it's going to be based on the Whopper points awarded at that event in previous years. So the last 3 years worth of Whopper points at the average will determine whether or not it makes the circuit. So we're actually, for our event, we're in a good spot. We ended up, according to the early calculations, we were fifth in the circuit.
So we should be able to host next year again.
So we had a great turnout last year. It looks like, because I assume because we're a major this year, that that'll drive even more people to come out. So we should be in good standing. But it's
how many tournaments are they going to have? 16? They're going to be 16 Papa Circuit tournaments?
I don't know. There's 20 this year. They upped it to 20.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if they're going to keep it that way. I assume they will.
If people are coming out for the tournaments, why not? I mean, what's the downside, right? You don't want to take away tournaments. There's less people playing pinball.
Yeah.
Who knows? I obviously have not put a lot of thought in this. This is somewhat new. I can't keep up with all the news.
Yeah. So maybe it's you know, they don't want players that have to feel like they have to travel to so many tournaments if they want to play in the circuit. You know, you can go to a couple tournaments and qualify as long as you play well. I don't know. But yeah, so it's a partnership between Stern, IFPA, and Papa. They're all working on this together.
Well, you know, hopefully that starts leading to maybe more broadcasts of tournaments.
Yeah.
You know, if there's some money behind it, that's what we need, I think, to take it to the next level.
Yeah, and Josh Sharp was saying that it's having Stern's name on it, having the biggest manufacturer's name on this event is going to make asking for donations and sponsorships a lot more effective.
That makes sense.
You know, there people like, who's Papa, you know, or whatever. It's like having that name attached is going to really help with that, and hopefully that can help elevate pinball and competitive pinball and coverage and all that stuff. So I know that's one of the main goals of IFPA now.
Okay, cool.
So
well, thanks for educating
us. There you
us.
go.
Yeah.
Well, here you go. We got to play this one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I think it's game review time.
Let's do it.
And so our Discord, our what the hell is it called? Patreons.
Yeah.
They voted on which game we wanted to review, and this time it is No Good Gofers. So
Is this our first Williams that we reviewed, Kevin?
We can consult the website.
Yeah, let's go the ratings so we give at least a basis of what's up with that. We did Medieval Madness.
Oh, okay.
All right, so our second one.
Yep, our second.
And Revenge from Mars. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you weren't here for that one, so I'll give you a pass on that one. But so yeah, No Good Gofers is a '90s Williams game designed by Pat Lawler. What can we say? It's
when did it come out? What year? 97?
I don't know for sure. Somebody in chat will.
You should never ask questions, Nick. You don't know the answers to.
That's right. It was a late '90s game. It's based on it's a golf theme. People say it's the unofficial Caddyshack game, which I would agree with. It's got the Gofers.
Yeah, which is interesting. They focus on the Gofers, right? The kind of the humor. Caddyshack is pure humor, is what I'm saying. But they focus on the Gofers, and sort of the way Medieval Madness is, like Monty Python's Holy Grail, right?
Mm-hmm, yep.
That kind of idea.
Yep. It's
the inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, between that and teed off,
Wildcat said it's teed off but not shitty. He's crushing it.
Review done.
Yeah. Thanks, man. We'll see you guys.
Wildcat, if you want to throw that link in the chat for people to rate the game too, that'd be great. And we'll check in on that once we get done. But let's pop back over here. So I don't know, where should we start with the art? So let's look at the cabinet. It's got all hand drawn art, which is it's an original theme. So the artist has kind of creative license to do whatever they want with the machine and their vision for the game. And this is kind of what we talk about when we talk about the art people like to see on pinball machines. I think it's all well integrated. It's it's not that like I just took pictures of actors and plopped them on a play field. There's good detail on the slingshots, and you kind of look around. Everything's very colorful, very cartoony. That's kind of the feel for the game. This is one of my son's favorite games, and I'm sure it has. He's 10, so you can see where the appeal would be here for somebody of that age. He's got Gofers he can smack with the ball, and a golf cart up top, but otherwise, the art is good. I would say I would give the art a high quality rating on this game. What do you think?
I think it fits the theme very well, right? You look at the art and the feeling that it evokes is just fun. Like it's goofy, it's fun. There's humor embedded in it, so it achieves what it sets out to accomplish.
Awesome. So let's talk about the sound. Why don't you kick it off for the sound?
Oh, I love the sound on it. It's like this calypso music or something,
yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know. Like the sound kind of gets in your head, I enjoy it. Again, it's kind of this goofy music
Mm-hmm.
that fits the theme perfectly. The Gofers in the game, they taunt you constantly.
Oh, yeah.
They say a lot of like these kind of funny, humorous comments. They're taunting you. They kind of get you going. I love the sound in the game. It's so well done. It's that Williams era of like Medieval Madness and Monster Bash. Like if you think of those games, this fits in right in there in terms of just having great sound to it.
Yeah, and the call outs are great, and they really wait. The Gofers really make you want to smack them with the ball when they pop up out of the playfield. They're taunting you, they're talking trash, they're doing little dances across the DMD.
There's a dance party mode.
Yeah.
I mean, I jumped the gun to saying what I really like about the game, but there's like this spinning wheel on the game, and like one of the things it can land on is like this random award is like dance party, and like it plays like this dance party song, and the Gofers are going up and down. Like it's just hilarious.
Yeah, we played this game on the on Brody Even Pinball, and all I remember is Martha wanting it to stop on the dance party the whole time.
Who doesn't?
I know. Come on. So yeah, sound, great sound. Toys. I would say this game has some of the best toys in pinball. It's got the slam ramp that comes down. I know I got a picture of that.
The slam ramp is awesome.
There it is. Boom. So when the ball comes in the in lane and that light is lit to lower the slam ramp, that ramp comes down, hits the playfield. You can shoot the ball up the slam ramp. The ball goes flying in the air, and there's a hole-in-one shot up top where it can land in there, and you can move right into your next hole. So kind of, I mean, we don't want to get into rules too much yet, but you're trying to play through a golf course.
It's very, I mean, it's such a cool, simple, fun toy of just like setting that ball flying in the air, trying to get into this little hole-in-one shot. Like, fits the theme perfectly.
Mm-hmm. In addition to that, we've got, let's see if I got a good shot. Well, I guess that's the best shot. You got the Gofers that pop up under the ramps. So Bud and Buzz are the two Gofers, and they pop up. You smack them with the ball. That's how you get the multi-ball going, right? Is by hitting the Gofers and then locking the ball.
Yeah, you hit the Gopher, you hit the ramp, then the Gopher pops up, you hit him, then you lock a ball and you lock two, and then you hit the putting green shot, and now you're in a multi-ball.
Off you go. Those are the major toy elements. I mean, the ramps obviously go up and down. The Gopher can not come up, and then you can shoot it like under the ramp too. So there's a lot of different shots. It kind of reminds me of Dialed In a little bit in that sense, in that there's a lot going on with the ramps and the ball going different ways when you shoot the same shot. So I don't know if you had any other thoughts on the toys.
No, it's fun. I mean, there's some bash toys in there. It's fun to hit the Gofers, especially when they're taunting you. It's satisfying, and the slam ramp is a ton of fun. I mean, those are the two main toys.
Yeah.
I don't think there's another toy in it.
You got the golf. What happens when you hit the golf cart? I can't remember.
I always forget about. There's a golf cart back there, and it's got targets on it. I guess there's a point where you're trying to either blow up the golf cart or hit the golf cart, but I always forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of tucked away back there. Like I think I've even played a game where it was missing. I didn't even know it was missing, kind of deal. So I don't know. It's easy to forget about that.
Yeah, the slam ramp is awesome and the Gofers are awesome. So, we'll give a pass on that. DMD and lighting. Why don't you kick it off?
It's great. I mean, to kind of give you an example, when you get into multi-ball, it's sort of that multi-ball start from like Metallica and Monster Bash, where the lights are dimmed and the whole thing comes alive, and it's like shouts multi-ball, and just, again, it's one of those moments. And I think what's important in the pinball machine is that every pinball machine, the modern day ones, you need to have that moment, that really cool moment where you feel like you've really accomplished something. And if you don't, then it's a letdown. But this game nails it with like the multi-ball start and kind of the chaos and the lights and the sounds and the music. So I'm sort of getting into presentation there. We don't have a category for that, but the presentation is just excellent in the game.
Yeah, and that's something that we've talked about it before. It can be easily overlooked in a pinball machine, but it's really what makes the difference in making something a really great, exciting pinball machine that makes you want to come back, because you want to make it do that thing again. Because it's like, oh yeah, remember when on Adams I got the multi-ball and it did the big build-up and the lightning went off, and even though it's just a simple multi-ball, every game's got a multi-ball, but it's all in the presentation, man.
Yeah, you're excited. You're pumped for that moment. They yell attack.
Yep.
The Gofers, and you're after the races.
You're like, I gotta get that super jackpot.
Yep.
For sure.
Slam ramps coming down.
Yeah,
during the multi-ball.
Awesome.
It's so cool.
Awesome. So yeah, DMD. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, but it's got the cartoony kind of graphics on it.
It shows like when you lock a ball, shows Martha loves this. It shows like when you lock a ball, the ball disappears. It shows the gopher like stealing the ball and like trotting across the screen. She loves that.
Yeah.
It's goofy, it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does such a good job.
The humor is everywhere in this game. From the art to the sound to the animations on the DMD, they really did a great job making it a fun and exciting game. Let's get into the gameplay a little bit. So, I don't know if you give a kind of a high level overview of the game.
Yeah, it's kind of a flowy game. It feels more Steve Ritchie than Pat Lawler, I would say.
Okay.
It's the Pat Lawler in the sense that it's got the upper right flipper. So you hit that, the upper right flipper's on the right side. Well, it's implied. Nick, come on, but it hits the kind of that left ramp and it comes around. That's the jackpot.
That's the Lawler signature.
You've got it's kind of the two center ramps which will feed the flipper, and then you got the orbits. You got some pop bumpers tucked on the left, but the ball can get going pretty quickly. It's kind of fast moving. There's not much stop and go at all. I mean, you do kind of putt out and complete a hole, but then you're right back in the races. It sends the ball into the pop bumpers a lot of times and will shoot it out there. So. It's solid, man. It shoots great.
Yeah, it's one of the games with the most flow from Pat Lawler, and you mentioned this, and I think Dialed In gives it a run for its money in the flow department. But typically Pat Lawler games are like one ramp and the side ramp, so you can't get like the back and forth shots. But because it's got the two shots on the upper ramps, then you can really get it moving, get it going fast. And you mentioned the putt out, so. It will hold the ball and, kind of do a little animation, then kick it back out. But it's not a shot that it like accidentally ends up in a lot. So you have to be aiming for that intentionally. So yeah, it's a nice fast moving game. It's got the side ramp that is tough to hit, but doable. Yeah. I like on the plunge, you got a couple options. You can kind of short plunge and go for the skill shot, or you can shoot it up the side ramp and get the ball going in kind of a flow mode. So, there's a lot to like about it.
Yeah,
it's got the little spinny discs on it that Pat Lawler likes to do too. To throw, he likes to throw some randomness in there if it's a whirlwind or this game with the spinning discs or Addams Family or Dialed In with magnets under it. He likes to keep you on your toes. So
you make me want to buy a No Good Gofers now. I don't play it enough on location because when we have. Speaking of a game that could use some LEDs, it's so dark there, that one. I think they need to dress it up.
They do, and they need to get some gummy bears, I think, from Comet Pinball. All right, let's talk about rules, because I think this is what holds the game back a little bit.
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, I mean, I've played the game dozens and dozens of times, but I have not really dissected the game, and I couldn't tell you where it falls short in the rules department, like somebody else who's really kind of broken down the rules. I guess there's some bugs in it. There's some problems. I know people are working on the code. I don't know what those are. It's a rather simplistic game. You get your multi-ball, and then you're kind of playing through the rounds of golf by just hitting shots, and you hit enough shots, and you can putt out. There's not a ton of depth to the game.
Yeah.
So that's it. The rules don't match the rest of the presentation, the lighting, the sounds, and everything like that. That's not to say, in my book, I don't think they're bad. It's just somewhat limited.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's kind of typical for the era. You had, I think, a game like Medieval Madness was probably the exception that had a lot more going on in it. I mean, you had your main basic thing where you battle the castles, but you got all this other stuff going on too. 90s Williams games weren't the deepest games because you didn't have games going into homes where people demanded these super deep rule sets because I want to have this game in my house for 3 years and I want to play it every day. And, people who went on location wanted to get a multi-ball going. They wanted an accessible wizard mode. So that it accomplished what it needed to do. We wanted to put it in the circuit event last year, and actually we were told it's not a good idea because of some of the bugs and stuff in the game. So it kind of holds it back from being a good tournament game for that way. But I mean, it's pretty typical of the era, I would say. Last ability along those lines, what do you think?
I don't know. I'd have to have one, I think, in my home collection to see how it holds up. I don't think I'd want it if I had a small collection. But where I'm at with 10 plus games right now, I'd be curious to really spend some time with it and maybe learn about some of its shortcomings. It might get boring, right, with the rules and the same old. I think in a home collection, I like a game where there's multiple paths to victory, right, or different approaches. again, how can you not do this? But let's take Walking Dead. And what's beautiful about that game is that every game you play, there's a moment where you pause and say, okay, what do I do now? Right? And in those Williams games, there really aren't points like that. You sort of just know what to do, and you're sort of just playing through the game, and that's great and all, but that doesn't necessarily create lastability. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's lastability is hard to say for a game you don't own or haven't owned. I think it's a game so before the stream today, I'll fire it up on Pinball Arcade just to kind of freshen it up in my mind, and it's a game I always enjoy playing. So I feel like in a decent sized collection, it would be a keeper. And if it's your only game, maybe you blow through the holes of golf a couple times, and Fugel in chat says there isn't an ultimate wizard mode in it. So maybe that's kind of like, oh, I did the thing and there wasn't a really good payoff.
Yeah.
So that might keep it from being a real long-term keeper. But I've never made it all the way through all the holes, so that's still out there for me to do. And just getting the multi-ball going and playing it and enjoying it for the humor is something I always enjoy. So I think it does okay in the lastability department. Yeah,
I mean, I'm persuaded on this game because it has humor, and I'm partial to games that are funny because there's not a lot of them. Mm-hmm. This lightheartedness, this funny game with great presentation, that's what would sell it for me. That would be my emotional reason for getting the game, not the rules. Mm-hmm. But then again, after you've done this a million times, you can get a little sick of it. And if the rules aren't there, then it's going to go. So, Bruce said in the chat his lasted 6 months. And Bruce usually has really good taste in games. And, if Bruce says the game is good, then it piques my interest. Or if he says a game that he sells a game rather quickly, then, there's something there to it.
Yeah, and you guys are pretty similar in your skill set of playing. So he's somebody that you can kind of relate to in that sense, too.
All right. Let's go over what our ratings are.
Okay.
What our scale is.
All right, so that's this one. I don't want to give away the secrets yet.
As we get to the drum roll. You know what we got to do, Cap, too? We should go back and say last year at this time we reviewed such a game and see if we need to update our reviews. We'll do that another time, though.
Yeah.
Because things change.
Such as Batman 66, perhaps.
Yeah. All right, so the scoring key for our reviews, if we give it a 0 to 2, you need to burn it. All right? 4th of July is coming up. Drag that out there. Put some fireworks in it. Throw some gasoline on it. Get rid of the game. All right? I'm not saying no good Gofers is that. I'm just giving you the score range.
That's where Wildcat would put Street Fighter.
3 to 5 is an expensive nightlight or Batman 66.
Oh.
You see what I did there?
Ouch. That's where it is right now.
Yeah. It is what it is. And by the way, I played the updated code 0.75 because I remember we talked about that. There's really, it's not like, oh my God, Kevin, I played code 0.75. We need to get rid of that podcast because that was embarrassing when we were slamming the game. No.
Jack up that rating, bro.
Anyways, all right. So 6 to 8 is a solid game. Mm-hmm. And then a 9 to 10 is a buy. So, if we did rate Dialed In, we bought Dialed In, you do the math.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
So you know where that falls.
Even though we don't rate the game.
All right. So I'm trying to think. I think you went first on Batman last time. So why don't I go first on
That's really petty of you, but go for it,
I
Kevin.
know, I figured we'd take turns.
All right.
Then it's not always like,
you got me there. I don't have my attorney.
I'm just saying what you said. Yeah, exactly. So on the scale, I think it falls squarely in the middle of the solid game category. So I'm going to give it a 7. Yeah, I'll give it a little more, 7.5, because I think it's got, like we talked about, it's got the art, it's got the rules, or well, not the rules are a little iffy. It's got the humor, it's got the animation on the DMD, and all, it's got the exciting moments. So I think it's a great game. Maybe not necessarily a buy it, but I think it's a solid game.
Okay, makes sense. I want to give this game an 8, and I'm going to give it an 8 because I think what holds it back is the rules. And rules are maybe more than 2 points, but it's just there from buying the game. Mm-hmm. Like, I am just there from buying the game. If the game had amazing rules, I'd feel like it's a game I'd want just because it's such a fun theme. But solid game for me, and No Good Gofers comes in at an 8.
Okay, so a 7.5 and an 8. We ended up pretty close on that. So let's pop over to see what the viewers thought. So this is that. We need to pop this one on. So let me just refresh this and make sure we're all up to date here. So
all right, we got 10 votes in on this. The majority of votes for an 8.
Yeah. So
8.
It's
4 votes for 8, 3 votes for 7, rating a 7, 1 vote for a 9, and then a couple people actually give it a 4.
Wow.
That's sort of harsh. That's a big discrepancy. I wonder what it is, if it's the rules or what else.
If I had to guess, that's probably Bruce would be one of those.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah. But the majority of the people who voted kind of agree with where we put it. So that's cool to see.
I see Pinball Joe is in the chat, and he says he loves Street Fighter. So Pinball Joe is supposed to come on the podcast next month. I think next month we should probably review Street Fighter.
Yeah, we should.
And Street Fighter 2, and have Joe review along with us, if our Patreon fans are okay with that, because I want to see the defense of Street Fighter.
Okay.
Pinball
I like
machine.
It, yeah.
I want to. Joe, you have a month to prepare. All right. Hire a paralegal if you need to do some research.
We can prep at Pinball Done quick.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Hool says he's the one that gave it a 4. Bruce gave it a 7. There you go.
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
All right.
Says a lot.
So I put out the call for Q&A from our viewers and listeners, and you guys answered the call. So let's get into the viewer and listener Q&A. So up first from M3 Sack, he says, "Hey guys, hopefully this wasn't answered before. What themes did you guys want to see get turned into a table that hasn't been made yet? It's kind of sad to see TV shows or movies, especially in the 90s, that would make perfect sense to become a table, but for some reason it was not meant to be. Personally, I would like to see one based on either the Power Rangers or any 90s Nickelodeon game show, specifically Guts. Thanks for answering my question, and thanks for lighting my passion for pinball into a blaze of glory, and Lion Man."
Lion Man.
All right. So I did a little brainstorming on this today, and you can see my notes there. So I came up with 2. One, there has been a machine on it, but it sucked, so it doesn't count. And that is Back to the Future. I would love to see Jersey Jack.
I don't want to see Stern do it.
Yeah,
no offense, Stern, but I want to see Jersey Jack do
Jersey
the shit
Jack
out of Back to the Future.
Back to the Future machine, for sure.
It deserves it. There's some themes that really deserve the Jersey Jack treatment.
Ooh, I like Shannon Stafford's answers of the Golden Girls.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, our team league name is the Golden Guys, so they hold a special place in my heart. But number 1 for me would be Back to the Future. And number 2, I was thinking about there hasn't been like a super outstanding video game based pinball machine. There have been some okay ones, a bunch of really bad ones. I think The Legend of Zelda would make an amazing pinball machine that would kind of. We've talked about this, that there needs to be this crossover between video games and pinball, because I think there's an inherent similarity there that I think video gamers would enjoy once they get into it, and a theme like The Legend of Zelda would bring people in. A lot of people play the Mario Brothers machine, and it's terrible. So if you're a video gamer and you're like, oh, it's Super Mario Brothers, I'm gonna play that, and it's just like, oh, it keeps falling in these holes all the time. Okay, I'm done. Or I remember playing Street Fighter back in the day because I was a super big Street Fighter fan. I was like, all I wanted to do is hit that ramp and shoot Chun-Li, because it's up there and it's spinning around. I was like, oh, something awesome is going to happen when I shoot that. And you shoot it up there and she just either kicks it back or it goes past her. It's like, all right, well, never mind. I'll go play Street Fighter again instead of playing the pinball machine. So I think so Back to the Future and Zelda are my 2 choices there.
So here's a money-making or non-money-making idea, but you can make an awesome, amazing pinball machine. You guys can take this to the bank. All right, and Boomer Ski reminded me, what I would love to see is a pinball machine that is kind of like a EDM, techno, music-themed game. All right, so remember, what was the game? Amplitude?
Yeah.
You might remember this game from like PlayStation, the original one.
2, yeah.
Yeah, where like it's basically a game. So you start off with like the shell of like a techno song, right? Just like the bass beats, and then like as the game goes on, like you like time the music or you hit like notes, it will put like other lines into the game. So by the end of it, you complete the whole song. So maybe you just have vocals going, and then you have, I don't know, the synth going, something like that. It would be amazing if you can create a pinball machine like that. So you hit a ramp, and then suddenly you've got the synth going, and then you hit enough pop bumpers, and then like the vocals are going or something like that, and you just complete songs. And you can even download more songs or have more songs created, because the shots are always changing and different, and you've got to play like a set of music. And I think you don't even have to like that style of music necessarily, because it can just be an immersive experience where you're sort of creating music as you play the pinball machine. The lights can be amazing. I mean, we've seen with people how they respond to Tron. So that's sort of a generic theme.
Yeah, Total Annihilation too kind of has that same appeal. It's got that driving music that really gets people
then
into it.
Nemus points out, so more people are familiar, like Rez or Rock Band. So Amplitude, like was before Rock Band, but you're creating music as you're playing the pinball machine, and I think that's something that people can get around. I mean, it can work with rock or anything else, but I think technical would be really cool with pinball.
That's kind of would have a universal appeal, I think, because it's just like, I don't know, like you said, people play Tron, and it's just like they get so into the music, it's so great. So.
Other than that, let me say, I got a couple more.
Do you got a theme?
I got more.
Cool. All right.
I want more, because we were just talking about No Good Gofers. I want more humor in pinball. So, not that anybody would ever make it, but like things like Arrested Development pinball machine, or It's Always Sunny pinball machine. Curb Your Enthusiasm. I mean, come on, no one's gonna make that. Like,
No.
pretty good multi-ball.
Yes.
Like Keith Alvin's doing Archer. I would take that too. Like, I want to see more humor in pinball. Like, Family Guy's great. That they have that, but there's not enough. I think that we're seeing that.
Yep.
We're good on music, and I like that. I like that. Trust me, I do. And superheroes, we're good on that, and movies. But let's see some humor.
Ooh, Airplane would be good. I like that. All right, next question. This is from Harry/HSJ on Twitter /SpeedyRice3 on Twitch. He's in the chat tonight, so hi Harry. He says, you probably get asked all the time about what to buy as a first pinball machine. I bought my first pinball machine.
Good job, Kevin, just trashing it.
A Super Mario Brothers in March. Well, like I said, that's one of those games that people will buy based on theme, and it's like, as you learn to play pinball, it's like, this actually isn't really that good. And that's why the value's down on it. Imagine that, a Gottlieb that's not that good. Now I'm itching for number 2. Any recommendations on a second machine within a $5,000 budget? I'm leaning towards a newer Stern so I can learn more about stacking modes, shot making, and skills for more competitive play, but I am open to suggestions. I'm going to say buy a Walking Dead.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite game is Walking Dead, so that's pretty easy. If you're looking for a new game and you're around 5K, the cool thing is Stern's putting out pros that you're right around that, right? You can get that, especially if you get one that's used. Somebody bought a new Stern and 6 months later they turn around and sell it. They got mods on it and everything. You can get it for $4,500, something like that. Can't go wrong with some of the new Sterns. They're great machines. You're not gonna have to worry about really maintenance on them, other than when they're broken in the box and you fix it.
That never happens.
And Kevin and I did a nice top 10 Stern podcast a few months ago. Tuna weighed in, Ed Robertson weighed in. So you've got sort of how we feel about recent, or at least Stern pinball machines, and you can see what we personally recommend.
Yeah, for the $5,000 range, you're going to be in Stern Pro territory. So that's kind of why we're leaning that way. But yeah. Good luck with that, and welcome aboard the crazy train. Like we always say, once you get your first pinball machine, make room for number 2.
Yeah, he knows. He's in that boat right now. All right, so second question is, what's the farthest you've ever traveled for a game? While shopping for pin number 2, I am trying to factor in distance for picking up the game or navigating shipping, which I have never done before.
All right, so I have an opinion here. Don't ship the game. Play the game. We've seen local folks get games shipped in, and they thought it was going to be in great condition.
Unless you're getting it new.
Yeah, new is one thing. If it's a used, if you end up going for like a 90s Williams game or something like that, play it, or wait for one to show up locally, or hit the road in your truck and go play it. But you gotta also have to be prepared to turn around without a game in the back of the truck if it ends up being a trashed game. So. What's the farthest you've ever traveled for a game? Well, I know you had one delivered.
I don't know. I'm trying to think what's the farthest one.
I know Big Buck came from far away.
I didn't go get that though. I had somebody pick it up for me. I don't travel too far for games.
No, you
put
don't.
it that way. Yeah, sort of lazy.
Trying to think. I've picked up games from shows, so I got one at the Ohio show.
Well, you know what? Bruce and I went to go pick up from Binghamton the Operation Thunder.
Okay,
so 3.5 hours.
That's pretty far.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about the radius I've traveled to. Anything beyond that, it's like it's got to be something, either a super great deal or something I really, really want to make me go further than that. So probably about 3 hours away. The furthest you've ever traveled for a tournament? I think it's Pinball.
Oh, no. For me, I drove to... Martha and I drove out to Vermont to play in a tournament that Steve Daniels ran 2 years ago.
Yep.
That was like 8 hours or more.
That's madness.
It was long.
That's madness.
Long. Yeah, that's the longest one. But also, I even take that back. I mean, I flew to Seattle and Portland. I played in tournaments there. So
my wife is watching, and she just reminded me that we drove to New Jersey for Doctor Who. That's the game I traveled the furthest
there you
for.
go.
There you go. Thank you, Katie.
Awesome.
All right. Either that, she's probably just hearing us. I think she's in the kitchen, probably. Let's see. Any tips on learning how to nudge effectively? I am just learning now, and I feel like I'm either overdoing it or nudging too late.
I would, if you can get your hands, I think I frustrate people by saying this, but if you can get your hands on Pinball 101 by Keith Elwin, that's a great DVD to watch. I think that helped me to kind of see it in my mind, like what I'm trying to accomplish by nudging. What I can tell you right now is that you don't want to sway or rock the machine because that's just going to rock the tilt bob in there. You want to kind of have more diagonal, sharp movements, so you're able to move the ball, but you're also trying not to move the tilt bob, if that makes sense. And you want to nudge. You want to kind of do the micro nudging ahead of time, so you don't have to do like these sharper major moves. So try to nudge in a way when the ball might not seem in imminent danger, but it might be in danger if you don't do this. You know what I mean, Kev? How would you explain it?
I like to
don't get yourself into trouble.
Try to keep it out of trouble rather than reacting to when it's in trouble. So like if it's coming towards the top of a slingshot, like nudge it so it hits the top of the slingshot and back towards the center of the playfield. Or like something on Tron that I like to do. It's got that little like angle triangle that comes out above the left out lanes. I like to use that to kind of nudge the ball away from the out lanes. So if it's coming straight down the middle, there's not much you can do other than a slap save or a slide save, depending on the game. If it's Ghostbusters, you got to slide it. If it's any other game, you could probably get away with a slap save. But yeah, it's one of those skills. It's like you just need to practice. You got to play a lot of pinball, and eventually you're going to start anticipating how the ball is going to move, and you can kind of base your reactions on that.
And I think if you got a newer stern, you might learn to nudge better than you're learning maybe on Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Some of the Gottlieb ones. I mean, there's some games that just don't lend themselves to teaching you how to nudge that much. Maybe even buying an early solid state machine where you've always got to be nudging, right? You've always kind of got to be on the ball. That will help. But try to find Pinball 101. Try to find that DVD and watch it.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks for all the questions. So we got a couple from Twitter. One from Pinball Wiz 45B said, "If you picked up anything good on the Steam summer sale, I hear Pro Pinball is on sale for $750, and it's a really good simulation." So I haven't bought it on Steam summer sale, but I did have it on my iPad. I was an early Kickstarter backer for the Pro Pinball Time Shock table. I got in on it with the anticipation that I would install it on my virtual pinball machine, but then I ended up selling that, so I just played it on my iPad. It's by far the virtual pinball machine with the most realistic physics. So if you want something that feels more like real pinball feels, I would definitely drop the $750 on that. I know there's a bunch of sales on Pinball Arcade stuff and Zen Pinball stuff on Steam as well, so go nuts. Now's the time to buy. All right, from Psychosonic on Twitter, he says, "What oddball games will house you repeatedly in your Pinburg banks?"
I fucking hate the single player.
That was an hour and 48 minutes.
No, I
said
I cursed earlier.
Oh,
I won't say it again. I hate the single player games that till ends game.
Oh, that's the worst.
Because they freak me out because I'm get too scared to nudge, even though you got to nudge to do well in those. And usually they set the tilt liberal enough that you can move it, but I've had a psychological barrier for the last few years, so I think I'm getting over that. So I'm gonna really go for it and move the game a hell of a lot more. But those have just eaten me alive at the last couple Pinburgs.
Yeah. I can't think of a game that will house me every time, but what took me by surprise last year was Spanish Eyes. Have you played that? It's got the pop bumper in the middle.
I might have.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I blew that freaking game up. I've never played a game with the center bumper on it or center pop bumper, and it was that time of the day where I was like, it was just nothing could go wrong, and I was nudging it out of there, and I was like hitting the center hole and cashing it in, and I was like, man, this game's fun. I'm sure if I had played terrible on it, then I would have hated it, but that one took me by surprise. So All right, couple from Discord. Wildcat wants to know, why can't Star Wars ever get a decent pinball machine?
Amen.
Is it due to laziness or the fact that the movie is overrated and not worthy of
Oh, I'm with you. Wildcat and I,
he
man.
set you up for that one.
He's my spirit animal.
Well, this gives us an excuse to show the Star Wars pics. Oh, that's not Star Wars. That's No Good Gophers. What happened?
You messed up.
I screwed it up.
All right. Well,
Yeah. Well, you can't have it all,
we
people.
tried.
There's no Star Wars pictures.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of covered that, right? But it's just, again, I feel like they're not doing it justice.
Yeah.
And this is coming, I'm not a fan, but I recognize and I want people who are fans to get the game that they deserve the way it should look.
Yeah.
It's not to say I don't think it's god awful the art or anything,
No.
but it is underwhelming that what we've seen.
I think it comes down to the fact that like you can slap Star Wars on anything and people will put money into it.
That's it.
They don't have to.
That's it.
People are going to buy it no matter what they put out there, unless it was like an empty playfield with nothing on it.
Aerosmith, they had to work their ass off.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, we got to make this game beautiful.
Gotta shine that
a bunch
thing.
of old guys.
Yeah.
Like, we got to make the young people appeal to this game.
It's true though. It's so true. You just slap Star Wars on it,
Yeah,
boom,
it's like,
money.
you're
You're printing money.
Giant base of people who are going to be like, Star Wars pinball machine,
Yeah.
give it to me, and they won't care. So that's probably why. All right, one more from Attack. He says, question for Kevin and Nick: any games you regret selling? And I think we've answered this on the podcast before, and I'm happy to re-explore it. For me, it's Congo. I'm typically like, once I'm done with the game, I'm done with it. It's like, all right, I played that game for 2 years. I'm done. I'm good. I can play it on location every once in a while, but Congo is a game when I play it, I was like, man, I really like how this game plays. I know it's not real deep. It's pretty shallow, but it hits all the notes for me.
So mine, I don't really have one that I'm pining after that I have to rebuy or anything like that. Like I'm pretty good about selling a machine and moving on. My one regret, and I've said this before, is I sold a Star Trek LE before I should have, and I lost probably $500 on it, and before the code got to where it is today. So I'm a little bummed by that. I wish I kept it maybe another year. I would have enjoyed the code. I would have actually made money on it instead of losing money, but whatever. C'est la vie, man. It goes on. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but at the end of the day, I don't like regret not having it. Like I'm okay because I turned that into Metallica and a Big Buck Hunter. So now I've got two games.
And there's Star Wars everywhere, or Star Trek everywhere. Like
it's everywhere.
We've played a ton of Star Trek. You're okay not owning a Star Trek.
I've played that game so much,
Yeah.
and it just got very samey for me too.
Same here.
Same. It's one of those flow control games that it just seems like Groundhog Day after a while.
Yep. Agreed.
Great game, but too samey.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our Q&A session. Thank you guys so much for all the questions, and we'll wrap it up with some plugs here. So be sure to follow us on social media. We're at Buffalo Pinball on Twitter and Instagram. You can find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Buffalo Pinball. You'll find archives of all our old Brody Even Pinball shows, archives of this talk show, the video format. So if you're listening and you want to see us talking about the things we're pointing at and showing on screen, you can see them there. On Facebook, we have a group. It's at facebook.com/group/Buffalo Pinball. And you can join our Discord channel at discord.gg/Buffalo Pinball. So if you want to email us questions like some of the folks here tonight, it's Buffalo. What is it? We have too many email addresses. It's talkpinball@gmail.com.
Yep.
That's the one. And you can follow and sub our Twitch channel. If you have Amazon Prime, you can sub for free. No extra charge with your Amazon Prime account. Just go to twitch.tv/Buffalo
Helps us out, and we
Pinball.
appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's encouraging.
And why don't you give the plug for Patreon?
So we got a Patreon page by request. It's just another way to support us. Not everybody is on Twitch. Sometimes you might be just listening to this podcast. Actually, most people just listen to this podcast and watch.
Way
us
more people listen.
Way
than
more.
watch.
So if you like what we do and you want to show us that you appreciate our time and our effort that we put into this and the time that we give up, you can head on over to our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Buffalo Pinball. Super easy to find. We have you can support us for a whole $1 a month. And just the fact that somebody took, 5 minutes out of their day to go there and to set up a payment for $1 a month to us is meaningful, and it makes a difference. It's just kind of just it's just encouragement, man.
Yeah,
we appreciate
absolutely. Yeah, it shows us that people value what we do and gives us motivation to keep doing it. So.
Now our subscribers on Twitch are paying $5 a month, so that they get a lot of cool things that go along with that. So we have something comparable on Patreon. If you support us at $5 or more a month, you're a really real baller and really love us. You get to vote on what games you want us to review every month. So what we typically do is we'll ask our Twitch viewers to suggest some games that you want us to review on the podcast, and then we'll narrow it down to 3 and then send it over to our Patreon supporters who are at that level, and they'll vote what game they want us to review for the month, which I think next month we're just going to do Street Fighter 2 if we got Joe Sight on there, because I'm really interested to talk to him about that.
Awesome. Thanks to you guys. Thanks to our partners. Take care. We'll see you in a month.